to the Indie Wrestling Guide with your hosts, the Hall of Fame referee, JHawk, the not-so-mysterious benefactor, Jgold, and the legendary Charly Butters.
Jgold, you're a professional birthday party thrower now?
That's right. That's right. So if in case anybody cares and who's ever listening, I know you don't. This weekend, this has been a very busy weekend. So my wife's birthday was last week. On Saturday, we had a bunch of her friends from town come over. My brother was in Memphis, Tennessee, or Nashville, Tennessee, with my niece and nephew. So they were out of town. So we needed something to do. So I found this company that comes to your house and they turn it into a game show. So it was like Jeopardy and a Family Feud and like these trivia questions. So we invited a bunch of people from town over, and I kind of surprised Steph with it. And it was a lot. We drank a lot, and it was a lot of fun. And then today, my niece's second birthday was in our house. So as I said before, I'm averaging about 41 years old worth of parties. And so now we had a second birthday and a 45 birthday. And yeah, so I'm done with parties for a while. Next party I go to is the after party after Hell on Earth. That's what I'm saying. Oh, and I forgot. I guess I'll bring it up later, but I'm going to be at DPW on Sunday. So we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, there you go.
Hell yeah. So yeah, so it's professional birthday party or on the fly birthday party thrower and 2-year-old birthday party thrower. I'm like a clown. I can do it all. Or something.
So right before we went on the air, I got asked to do the Time Capsule Toys podcast finally. So I'll be on that tonight at 7. It'll air live on YouTube. It's When We Were Kids, a Time Capsule Toys podcast. It will be, I think you can find it through Youngstown Studios. That's what I usually have to look up when I go to try to find it, because they have like a podcast studio in Youngstown that apparently they have a bunch of shows, and my boss has a show on there. So I'm going to go do that. So
fuck yeah. Yeah. Represent.
Get to hear all about my childhood and all the toys and stuff that I used to play with and memories of all that. So,
oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
I'd love to do a shit, like think about that. I need people, as I told you, Butters, to like activate my brain. So like if they're talking about shows and everything or like toys, I have to hear them say it first because I don't remember anything. So I'd have to be there like, oh, and remember this? I'll be like, yes, I do remember that. And then I can come up with it. Otherwise, I don't know anything.
Yeah, watching some of the other episodes, because it's like a whole video podcast, it's very much a like, you remember this line? Like, this line existed. This has existed. And I'm just like, I do remember that. I did have that figure. That's crazy.
Isn't it sad, though, that we used to have those and just had no sense of how much value, because 30 years from the line you would have thought
when we were kids. Like,
but there was no collecting either. Yeah, like I don't remember any of that shit. Right. I think one of my cousins had foresight because he had the Darth Vader, suitcase with all the different, Star Wars figures in there. And he had them all with all the weapons and everything. I can only imagine if he brought that to one of those conventions now, what that would have been worth.
Yeah, if they're in good shape. Oh yeah, he's got. You
guys sell any of those in Time Capsule?
Oh yeah, I've seen them come across. We see them mint on card. Sometimes we had a Vader. Somebody sold us 3 Darth Vaders mint on card.
What are those run?
The one in best condition went for like 800, and then it was like one for 700, one for 600.
I think that's more than my Owen Hart mint on card LJN figure.
Yeah, these things go for a lot. The LJNs, there's a lot of LJNs that go for a lot now too. So
yeah, they were selling those at the original Wrestling Universe. I don't know if they still, because I think they closed the first shop and they only have one left.
There's people from in the Major Wrestling Figure Pod group that have Owen Hart signed Jakks Pacific figures that, I mean, they're selling for like a couple $100. But
what's the Jakks? Is that the one?
Like the Bone Crunchers.
Oh, that's what I have. That's this one. This one up here. Is that it right there? Is that the Owen Hart?
No, you have the
that looks like a Hasbro.
Hasbro.
Yeah. All right. Shit. I get them all confused. All right.
Yeah, this
Well,
promotion has like 2 or 3 of these.
Men on card are ridiculous too anymore, though. So.
Oh yeah. Well, that 123 kid we had was $1,400, and it finally left the shop in a trade. So,
dude, I remember going to Wrestling Universe in Comac. They had the third store, and they were like, I was looking at all these things. This was before I knew anything. Like I went in there for a Danny Dorian Roadkill picture, and I saw the Ludwig Borga behind the fucking glass, and I was like, oh, that's cool. How much is that? And the guy's like $2,300, and I'm like, are you fucking insane? I'm like, what the fuck? I think I've told the story on here about the Toy Hio company had the Haku LJN men on card. They wanted like $1,900 for it, with like $800 more than what eBay was even selling it for. Haku? That is that the rubber? No, that's Galoob, right? That's the rubber toy. Look what the LJN. The big rubber.
Yeah, big rubber.
Yeah, I don't even think technically LJN were making them anymore. It was like that weird in between time where the LJN stopped being in store. You had to freaking mail order everything before the Hasbro took over the deal. Right. Like nobody had the figure. All I have is like these. I have the one most random figure I have on my wall is Heidenreich. And it's yellowed. Like the plastic that it's in is yellowed, but the card is still in decent condition. What do you give me for that, Butters? Like $3,000, $4,000
for a Heidenreich figure? Right. I'll give you 50 cents, and you can burn it for me.
Come on, it's so rare. It's the Ring Rage Heidenreich line. Everybody's been clamoring for one of those.
Nobody's paying for a Nazi WWE figure, man.
He was in the Road Warriors.
I forgot all about that. Thanks for bringing that back in my memory, Jgold.
Butters, what will you give me for this? This is a CPA WrestlePro figure.
Oh, that's probably like a $70 figure right there. And then we got to add our stuff on top of it. So I would probably give you $35 for it, and we'll sell it for probably 80.
That's not even that bad. I don't even remember what I paid for it, but it's CPA in my house in figure form.
Did he sign it? Is it signed?
No, and the nose is all messed up. Like, it's not good. It's not good.
You got to have him sign it. That way it's...
Next time I think I'm going to Create a Pro on like the 23rd. They have a free show night that I got tickets for. So I think I'm going to do that, but we'll see. But yeah, I will be at DPW though this weekend, and that's going to be fucking awesome. I think our pal Dom's going to be in town. I think they're doing a bunch of shit that day too. I think Mortos is going to be there and a bunch of dudes. So that show should be pretty awesome. Maybe I'll get FTR to show up. Yeah.
Maybe. You never know.
Dude, if that shit happens, my head will explode. It will explode. That's something I would like to see because I'm also taller than both of them. So that would be fun for a picture of me with my arms around them or either like resting gently on their heads.
I mean, that's how it is with most pictures when I take pictures with people. Yeah. So
that's the burden we carry.
Feel tall for once.
Right. Of being tall and handsome. That's the burden we carry.
All right. Shout outs, Zach, Andrew, and of course, Patty. Patty told me she didn't get to go to the Hall of Fame. She said that they were too busy doing other stuff, so they didn't get to go.
I just want to know what could have been more important than the Hall of Fame. That's all. What could have possibly have been more important, Patty? We'll talk later, but just would like to know.
All right. What is on this weekend, guys? Is there anything on this weekend?
Something's on.
What's on this weekend?
Okay, so it'll be, as you're looking at this tomorrow, Friday, November 15th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Greektown Wrestling will air live on Triller TV. Greektown title match, Channing Decker against Trey Miguel. Greektown Cup match, Derek Dillinger against Big Time Bill Collier. Also, you've got Wes Barkley versus Trent Gibson versus Jack Lantern versus Jack Williams. RIP Impact and Airstrike against Vince Valerie and CXR. Cam Holloway defending the IWC Super Indie Championship against Brent Banks. All the Dead against Zoe Sky. Hero against Rodney Matthews. Miley against Puff. Now, that's actually a pretty damn good lineup.
So,
by the way, can we
congratulations to Sam. We didn't even lead off with it. I feel so bad.
Big Sam with the WWE ID.
So
Big Sam.
So this is really awesome. He I kind of knew something was up since like Toy-Hio, the day of Toy-Hio. Like I heard some rumblings, but I wasn't permitted to say anything. So I kept my mouth shut, and then this came out. So I was very excited for him. I'm very happy.
I love that they found a gem from the AIW Wrestling School out of Cleveland, Ohio. Big Sam, baby. That's where we found him. That's where we'll see him. That's where he did fresh meat on this show. Big Sam, AI Dub. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but it's we know where he's from, so that's what matters.
Petty bullshit.
So congrats, Big Sam. We'll be keeping an eye on you, as will a ton of
Is it
people
time
now.
that we start calling him IWGuide's own Sam Holloway? That's what we can. That's how I'd like to call it from now on.
I mean, Jgold, at this point, you could just say that he is you found him. You just claim
discovered.
it. You discovered him. You found him. You named him. Like that was all you, Josh.
I am proud of that young man. Very proud of him.
2 years in the fucking business in order in WWE radar. That's just incredible.
It's amazing. I never heard of that dude, Cappuccino Jones, but God bless him, they found him. So good for Cappuccino. Fucking kidding me?
Hey,
anyway, what?
That's awesome. I think it's putting people on radars. Like those people that might know Cappuccino Jones probably didn't know Sam Holloway, so now they know both. So
yeah. All right, I'm going to go with this Saturday, November 16th, H2O Wrestling presents Concrete Hell, a cinder block canvas death match. Schlack versus Matt Tremont. Schlack's back, everybody. The H2O Championship, Declan Grant versus Sean Smith. Number one contendership, Cody Manhorn versus Austin Luke versus the also newly signed WWE ID superstar Marcus Mathers versus Mouse. Marcus, now you wish you came on, right? Hey,
I mean,
practice a little.
he could have been on here.
Come on, homie.
Big Sam was here. First ever interview with Big Sam.
Right. And then the hybrid championship, Cecilio Vega versus JB Anderson versus Brian Neal versus Alex Stretch versus Duncan Alim. Remington Roar versus Lowlife Louie. Paid My Dues match, Anthrax versus Lowlife Louie Jr. Boy, there's a lot of Lowlife Louies on this show. And Leroy Robinson versus 2Gs. That is Saturday night, 6 p.m. only on the Indie Wrestling Television Network.
I was actually looking in between the sheet earlier today, and Vic was talking about that Schlack match and going, "Oh, Schlack's still alive." Like he's been around quite a bit last year or so, Vic.
Nothing will ever top when I used to watch Slack on TV, and then I met him in person, and he's literally I have a foot and a half on him. Like I could not believe how short he was, but how wide he was. So anyway,
yeah, but he has crystal meth on his side, so
by the power of crystal meth.
That's right.
Allegedly.
That's
correct.
And this is your weekly reminder to watch 880 Wrestling Thursday Night Fights at 8 p.m. on YouTube under indiewrestling.us or 880 Wrestling. It should come up. Last week, there was a tag team tournament finals. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Marco Narciso pinned Mikey in that match. So
IWGuide's own Marco Narciso.
Yeah, Marco Narciso now on the table for a potential title match down the road.
There you go.
Not only for the tag team titles that they won, but because he got a pin on our champion, he's got to be in the conversation for a title match now. So,
oh my goodness, the wheels are turning, huh, Butters? You got the board up?
Just wait till you see what I have planned for next year, brother.
You got the whiteboard up, huh? Ready to go?
I was wheeling and dealing today while I was sitting at work. I was talking to Pedro. I was talking to Shelby. I was talking to some people. The grand scheme of things is going to be very interesting.
Lovely.
Coming up. Also, future dates. Neo Pro Wrestling, the 23rd, Saturday, Canton, Ohio. That's next Saturday. 880 Wrestling, November 27th, the night before Thanksgiving. They're going to have a show at a brewery in Pittsburgh, PA. Tickets are on sale now. AIW, November 29th, Hell on Earth in Eastlake, Ohio. Tickets are on sale now. ETU, December 1st, Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. Tickets are on sale now. go buy all those tickets. Go to all those shows.
By the way, our pals at the Main Event Network, November 23rd, I will be on their main event mixer. I hope we get go through.
You're going to be a very busy man because you said you're going to go to this Cap show.
Correct.
I think they're doing like a pre-show. I don't know what time, November 23rd, but they're talking about doing it before the AEW pay-per-view. So
how cool would it be if I do the show with them from the Cap parking lot? Because that's where you wait outside until the shit gets going. So who knows? I may be broadcasting live from the Cap parking lot in Hicksville, Long Island. So you never know.
So you're going to be busy representing us on other.
That's correct.
On other stuff. So
the new face of independent wrestling podcasts.
Oh boy. the new old face, right?
That's right. The weathered old face of despair.
Interviewing.
All right. This week we are joined by one half of the owners of Neo Pro Wrestling, Danny Vandal. What is going on?
What's happening, fellas? Pleasure to be on.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you.
I was going to say, yeah, Butters, I don't know what kind of favors he owes us or we owe him for this. So the relationship is kind of sketchy right now with how much work we're doing with Neo Pro.
They let me play in their sandbox. So I gotta invite them on and let them promote everything and all that kind of stuff. So,
that seems fair.
For sure.
So, Danny, where are you located?
I am actually in the Akron area.
Okay.
It's kind of, I love Akron. I'm originally from New York City, so moving out this way when I was a kid, I saw Akron and it kind of reminded me a little bit of home. It was like a small, big city.
Where were you in the city? I'm in New York myself. Right now I'm in Long Island, but I'm from Queens and I live in Long Island. I'm the only member of the show on the East Coast.
Look at that. Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Bed-Stuy originally, and then East New York for most of my childhood, actually, until we moved out here.
I thought I recognized some accent there. I thought I heard a little New York in you.
It's mostly gone, but at my day job, I had a customer today with the last name Kaufman, and there it is.
I can hear it. Exactly.
Yeah. So
give us a little background, because I'm not familiar with you. I know Butters, is hyping you guys, and we talk a lot now about Neo Pro. Give us a little background on yourself. Like how did this start? Like how did Neo Pro start? How did you get involved?
So, I mean, you gotta take it back a little bit. Jason and I, we've known each other. My goodness, it's been quite a long time. I mean, I moved here in 2004, 2005. I was in high school, and it was no more than 5 years later I met Jason. I had always wanted to be a pro wrestler. I lived in New York, so grew up watching the WWE during the days where it wasn't all that great. You go to the Garden for like $10,
Yeah.
So it was, wrestling's always kind of been a part of me and my life. And I always wanted to get into business, but growing up at that time, you had to be a certain height, certain weight, all that. I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, and I'm like, I don't know if I could ever do it. Then I met Jason. Jason's actually shorter than I am, and Jason had been training to be a professional wrestler. And I was like, wait, hold on, wait. How did you get in? Like, you're shorter than me. So it was a weird happenstance. Anyway, we could get into that if need be, but years and years goes by, and we pass each other throughout life, and I end up actually working for him at a pizza shop, trying to make some side money, and I got a call. Well, he gets the call technically, but it comes down to me to make a return to the ring, which I never really got a chance to fully flesh out a career. Had some injury, had some personal life stuff, and so I saw this as an opportunity to kind of, just one more, just to have at it. And the invitation came from Wilbur Whitlock to come back together in a post-COVID world and kind of, do it one more time, get the gang back together once again for our fallen, patriarch, if you will, Shasta. We had Stranglehold at the Stark County Fairgrounds, and I was in a battle royal. I was in and out. I was eliminated by Patrick Hayes, actually, funny enough. Yeah, I got bit by the bug again, man. And, conversations happened. It turned into a bunch of people talking about getting something going again. It's the usual conversation that happens in indie wrestling. Let's get something going. Next thing I know, it's just me and Jason having this conversation. in the back of this pizza shop. And so I very distinctly remember pushing the receipt button down on the machine, pulling out the piece of paper and drawing this and saying, I want that, like, we should have a logo like that. It could be something that can be emblazoned on a T-shirt. And we started fantasy building a roster, which most of our fantasy build ended up becoming our roster. And, you know, it went from concept to reality. We bought a ring. We bought staging. We own everything. Everything you see, we own that. We don't rent any of that stuff. Like, we're like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it. So
that definitely helps for cost as far as budgeting goes, owning your own stuff.
For sure. It didn't help the cost at the beginning. We ate quite a massive crap sandwich that whole first year.
That sounds about right. Sure.
You have to take risks, you know?
Yeah.
Don't lose money to make money.
Right.
So you guys form this, and so as far as where you are now, are you comfortable or happy with the progress?
Yes. I don't think that I'll ever be, I don't know, how do I word that? I'm humble enough to understand where we are and what we've done so far. I'm a student of the game in a way. Like I said, wrestling's kind of been with me my entire life, but I am in no shape or space to say that I'm an expert at anything technically. That's kind of how I just approach everything. Like, I've played guitar my entire life, you know, since I was 13 years old. I'm not an expert in that. I've been playing since I was 13. Like, I went to college for it and everything. I have that mindset where I don't try to take that on and think that I know what I'm doing. I'm a sponge. I came into the business as a sponge, and I will forever be one. We just had Tommy Dreamer at an event a couple months ago, and just having conversations with him kind of brought it full circle for me, because I attended a seminar of his when I was training, and then now I had the opportunity to, like, literally pay him back. You know, and so when I encounter things like that, it makes me realize we're doing something fun and positive. We're doing something that we've kind of always talked about but never really did. And I'm hopeful for the future, but I'm very much so confident in NeoPro and what we're doing, and how we've been able to kind of carve out a little niche for ourselves. I'm humble, but I can see them.
So you bring that up. So I want to ask, so Ohio is rich with wrestling right now. There's a lot of companies running. There's a lot of competition. You guys, most of the companies are under the shadow of AIW and what they bring to the area. Where do you think you guys fit in as far as what you are and where you want to be with NeoPro? What do you want to how do you fit in the current landscape?
It's hard to say. You know, that humility factor comes in. We're the new kids on the block. We don't I don't know. You know, in this area for a long time there was a lot of the best I could say is dissension. Mm-hmm. A lot of tribalism, a lot of this is mine, this area is mine, these people are mine. And I saw a lot of that breaking in, you know, first breaking in, and I knew, you know, specifically like in Canton, there was a few wrestling promotions that have come through Canton and, you know, ran shows in that town, and our mindset was never to compete and to push. In fact, we actually just having a conversation about this the other day, Jason and I, about how funny it is that the original concept for Neo Pro Wrestling was to be a television show, to kind of just showcase some of the talent in the area, and it turned into becoming kind of its own beast. And you know, we don't necessarily look at it like competition, and in fact, you know, there's ties all over the place. Jason was initially involved in the like primordial phases of the promotion that became RAPW out of Youngstown. When I was done with my training, I finished up my training at Mega. So we're not detached from the rest of the local industry. You know, we've made it very clear that our goal, I call the locker room Switzerland. Like, in our locker room, you have members of the AIW roster, members of the Mega roster, members of the RPW roster, members of sometimes the Power Slam roster, which is one of the initial promotions that there was a little bit of, I guess you could say, tension with us being in Canton. And we would get guys from Detroit, we get guys from Pennsylvania and all over the place. So as far as I'm concerned, NeoPro's locker room is a place where all can come, and it's not about egos. I try and check that honestly very quickly with anyone. I'm an open book with stuff, but coming into that space, it's funny. We launched NeoPro, and then right behind us is Billy Corgan announcing the first expansion of the territory system in freaking Cleveland. So I'm like, great. Now we got that to work with. So it's
what's that? Exodus? What do they call it?
Exodus Pro,
Exodus Pro, NWA Exodus. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where we fit. I'd like to think that we provide an alternative for a lot of what's in Northeast Ohio independent wrestling, like what you see in that. We definitely approach things from almost like a sports entertainment like angle in a way, if you will. No pun intended. But we still want to very much hold on to the idea of the sport. I mean, I wanted to institute rounds. I actually wanted to have 5-minute rounds. I wanted matches to be 3 5-minute rounds. So there are elements of things to be that are sports like and still have a sports feel that need to win a championship, things like that. So I don't know. I don't know where we fit. It's a good question though. I hadn't thought about that.
Having been in the locker room the first time at the last show, and I was very curious how it was going to kind of play out, because like you said, you have people from all over. You have people from like the 440 group, you got people from AIW, and I know they don't get along very well. So it's like I was very curious how it was going to kind of play out, and everybody just kind of does their own thing, and everybody's very chill. And I know like my guys were worried about like going over time and like wanting to make a good impression, and I really appreciate them for that. And I think after seeing it and everything like that, I said that, the vibes were just really cool. Like it was very chill. Like nobody came up to me and gave me any, issue with being back there when I was talking to my guys or like going to film something. Like we were filming something and like Ricky was out back and he's like, "Oh, here, I'll move for you." Like it wasn't like, "Yeah, I'm not going to move, like figure out something else." Like everybody was very cool about just, trying to like be a team and like do things. So I think that's, to have that at your company, I think that's a really great thing to have, because you do see a lot of tribalism and a lot of that stuff. And there's a lot of really great talent that needs to have a place to work. And I think you offering a place to work for a lot of these guys is a huge thing. Like there's a lot of the AIW kids that I really enjoy watching, and that's a lot of who I will bring in to work for IWGuide will be them, because they need a place to work. I believe in them. I want to see them succeed. 100%. That's my main goal, is to elevate all of them so that they do big things. But I think that there's such a large area in Ohio too that like, yeah, there's some other things going on in Canton, but you guys do Salem, and I know there's some stuff that might be popping up in Salem soon. But like,
where's that, by the way, Butters? Give me some relation.
Idea. Oh, for me, it's like an hour. Everything's about an hour away from me.
But which direction is Salem in? Like on
Salem is kind of in between Youngstown and Akron.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like down that
it's
way.
like a nice little halfway point.
So like, Real Action, they kind of have like Youngstown and that little area there. But like Warren, Niles are huge areas for wrestling. We have the Eastwood Mall. Like there's nothing in that area. So like there's
Wadsworth is another one I've heard.
Yeah, there's lots of areas that have no wrestling that desperately would love to have it. So like I've been pushing for my area to get Neo Pro, because I think that it'll do well, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff. But like I want to see Neo Pro expand to all these other places and do cool stuff, because being associated with them and seeing how they kind of do things, like you want to root for people that are good people. So like from what I've seen, you guys are good people, and I want to see you guys succeed, and I want to see there be a place for the next generations of guys to come up and have a place to work. And like I feel like a lot of people get in that tribalism thing and they don't think about the greater good of there needs to be places for people to work. Like Sam Holloway is still working Neo Pro. Yeah, he's got a WWID contract, but he's still working Neo Pro. He's getting invaluable like ring time. Like that's what everybody needs.
And if I may, it super warmed my heart when I saw that, because that kid, man, is he special.
Yes.
It's awesome. I remember when he first time I saw him after SummerSlam, because watchful eyes noticed he was the one who dapped up Machine Gun Kelly, and I was like, you had one job and one dap up to not fuck up, and you did it. So good for you. I was like, I hope you made an impression, and I hope you took the time to ask questions and introduce yourself and to be a professional. I got in the same vein, man. I really got to give it up for Mikey and Sydney, who were not only very much pros. They were respectful. They understood. Sydney, we'd had Sydney before. We did a 6-man scramble. We're talking about AIW and some of the young kids there. We don't have a school, so our connection with like Dominic Greeny and some of the communications we had with AIW is, hey, look, we're doing something down here. You guys need ring time, right? Like everybody needs ring time. Send them down here. We'll work something out with them. Send them down here so we can get exposure. We can get people moving around and get people ring time, because ring time is, nobody works a full schedule anymore in the independents, right? Not the way that it used to be.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not working 5 days a week. You're working once, twice, maybe even 3 times a week if you're dedicated and driven enough and your personal life allows for that. And I think the more ring time anybody gets, the better. And before I get too far away from Mikey and Sydney, I was impressed by them, their approach to the time that they had, and I told Mikey, I was like, hey, I don't know if you used the sliced bread as a finish, but brother, it worked. That should continue to be your finish. I kind of gave him some tips there about that, but I was not surprisingly impressed. I knew what to expect and wasn't necessarily taken back by the fact that it happened, but almost relieved, like, awesome. These guys they're great and they're respectable. And they're consummate pros. They had the crowd like wrapped around their fingers. They knew what they were doing, and it was a place to execute. Neo Pro for me has always been a teaching environment. Again, we don't have a school, but we have the ability to reach out and bring certain people in. We've had, for instance, Sami Callihan and Jessica Havoc coming back for the first time in like a decade and a half. Jessica hit me the hardest that anybody has ever hit me in a wrestling period, or in life period. She was fundamental in some of my training, and we all kind of commiserated and rubbed elbows, and like that's an opportunity to bring someone in who can just give so much information. It was a conversation that Brandon X and I had. Brandon X from Mega and I had is we both realized something, and we almost said it at the exact same time. There seems to be this 10-year gap between those from before and the kids now, and we can't exactly figure out where that gap happened. Sure, you could blame some of the like pandemic shutdown stuff, but that in reality was only a 2-year span when things were shutting down, and by the time some of those limitations kind of got lifted, maybe a year and a half. Excuse me, sorry. Wherever that disconnect is, there seems to be a transfer of knowledge that for over 100 years had happened. And for some reason, there's this gap. And he certainly, I'm not going to speak on his behalf, but I'll say on my end, I felt somewhat responsible for that because I'm creating this thing, and if I'm going to have, guys like Don Tavio or Sydney and Mikey or, Christian Napier, Ashton Day, Pastor CeeLo, all these younger guys who've been like just starting out, and I can get them in the same space with Shane Douglas or Tommy Dreamer or Havoc and Callahan, or guys like Bill Martell, who love him or hate him from Studio 86. That guy's been doing it a long time and has a wealth of knowledge. Like, if I can get these people in the same space so they can get together and just talk wrestling theory, we might be able to actually successfully transfer that information to the next generation so that the business is taken care of. That's my only goal.
Well, Danny, you mentioned that 10-year gap, you said. Let me ask you something. So I got introduced to AIW, let's say 2018. So WWE was shit, right? From like 2013 to like 2019, maybe a little bit before that, a little bit after CM Punk left. Could it have been, because I know the indies struggled for a really long time in the mid like 2010s. And do you think that was because people just kind of gave up on it? Were like, this is boring, or I'm not into wrestling anymore. And the people who might have filled those gaps didn't go to wrestling school at that point. And then it kind of started heating up again. And you got a more renewed interest on the indies around 2018, 2019. But because it was so shitty, because there was no competition, you had nothing. You had no AEW. You had no I mean, TNA was kind of floundering at the end before they kind of picked back up. Ring of Honor was Ring of Honor, but it wasn't, great because WWE started snapping up everybody. They closed all the English, the UK stuff. Do you think maybe that's where that gap came in, that the indies were kind of struggling because WWE was struggling because there was no competition?
I think maybe. Obviously, as above, so below. So whatever those guys are doing, I think kind of dictates the rest of how the industry is going to play out. But in a way, you could also, the rise of MMA and UFC in particular here in the States, and not just stuff here in the States. If you see the stuff that's happening in like Eastern Europe or Japan, Mexico, even in South America, the rise of alternative combat sports at the same time, the illusion of wrestling kind of started to wane from, specifically here in the States anyway, from American culture. I mean, it's always kind of been a part of American culture since the advent of television, really. But I think that's part of the problem. If I could be honest, there wasn't, when you start a job somewhere, right, you usually see a trajectory. You go, all right, cool, I'll start here, and then maybe I'll be a mid-level manager, then maybe I'll be a store manager, then maybe I'll be a district manager. I think with having only one place to go to be considered a professional at the highest level, I think it kind of like what you said, I think it demotivated a few people to push. I for instance, I started training when I was 23, 24 years old. So that would have been, my goodness, 2012, 2013. So right around that time, I think, I remember my class starting out with 15 people. And by the end, there were only 4 of us. At 5, technically. I can't, let me not forget about Michael Contos, our head referee. He was in my training class. That was it. Four would-be wrestlers and a referee. And I don't know. There's also the perception that, which is no longer the case, and thank God for this, but that independent wrestling was still outlaw. It was still kind of this like stickiness that stayed from the territory days of, there's the thing that is wrestling, and then there's these guys over there playing wrestler. And it's mostly due in part to, I think, the independents not taking themselves seriously enough. I think everybody got comfortable with being weekend warriors and forgot that for over a century, there was a network of territories that existed where people could go work and do this full time, and tribalism and blah, blah, so on and so forth. So it's a combination of things, but I would definitely say that influence from up top is a factor.
So before I give you back over JHawk and Butters, I had one that just top of mind. Who was your guy when you got into wrestling, when you started enjoying it? Who was your guy?
When I got into
you're
it
much younger than me. Yeah, you're much younger than me. I don't
know. I don't know that I am. How old do you think I am?
Oh, well, if you gave me those numbers, you're about 32, 33.
36.
All right, then I'm still 10 years older than you. So,
right, yeah.
so give me your guy. Who got you into who put you in who got you into wrestling that you were like, yeah, that's my dude. That's who I'm going to watch every week.
The guy that made me love wrestling was Savage. Randy
nice.
Savage made me love wrestling. Obviously, I was born in 88, so I missed a lot of Hogan. I knew who he is and what he did as I was growing up. By the time I got to elementary school and Brett and Sean were at the top of the industry, and on the other side, Flair and Sting were. And on the other side, because it was New York at the time, you had, Van Dam, Taz, Sabu, and Sandman. So you had, there were plenty of heroes to look for, but, Brett was like the guy too. Because he was cool. He was cool because he was great, and he was a good dude. Like, he was a good guy. You could get behind that. But Savage, when I start looking back at history, Savage is the guy that made me love it. He's the guy that made me believe. Like, I don't know what everybody else does, but that guy is real and he's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm in. And that's I'd probably say him. The guy that made me want to be a wrestler, though. Like, the guy that made me get up off my butt and actually go call Jason and say, hey, how'd you get in, was Punk. It was the night of the pipe bomb. That's when I felt like, oh, this isn't dead yet. We might still have something.
That night was very reassuring. They didn't capitalize on it enough, but they did enough to get that feud going, where he took the belt and stuff. But still,
I would disagree that they didn't capitalize on it enough. It's 13 years later, and we're talking about it.
Yeah, but 13 years ago, it wasn't wrestling had a downturn where they were talking about it in like golden years, going, yeah, that was awesome. Now it sucks. You know what I mean? Like they were doing that, in the mid 2010s, instead of saying, yeah, this was great and it catapulted us into this. It dropped us after that. The drop off was so bad.
I think it catapulted into a lot of what we see now, because a lot of wrestlers, when you ask them, these young guys, Punk, Edge, a lot of those guys in that era were what got them. I've heard Punk pipe bomb so many times as being the catalyst for like what got people into watching it and being like, oh man, he called him out. Like, oh, what's going to happen? And yeah, like you said, it didn't go as much as you wanted for it with the Summer of Punk, but it was enough to get all these kids to become wrestlers from it. So, I mean,
yeah, I do think also that like it, oftentimes we get into retrospectives and, the nostalgia of things. The best, I believe, is still yet to come. Like who would have thought that these last couple years of WrestleMania would have been what it was? Nobody would have thought that. We were expecting just the regular thing every April. But we've gone into this new level of things. There was something about that moment. For the record, I didn't even watch it live. Like I might be the best example of where wrestling was at that moment. I was with this girl. We were watching Raw, but like she wasn't a wrestling fan at all, and I would make her watch every Monday. And she looked at me and she was like, "Do we really have to watch this?" And I said, "The main event is John Cena versus R-Truth in a tables match. Fuck no, we don't have to watch this." And I changed the channel.
Yeah,
and I missed what could have potentially been the greatest moment in wrestling history. In retrospect, as we look at stuff, like that's the moment to me that I think revitalized it into the current like state that we're in now. Because he made it real again. Again, just like it was for Savage with me. That guy's real. I don't care about all the other stuff. That guy's real. He called out everybody. And he was like, I'm out this place. I'm not even wearing my own T-shirt. I'm out. Like, that. I missed it. I missed it live. I woke up the next day and, we're talking early days of cell phones. I'm trying to, nothing's loading and I'm trying to read these news articles and I'm get on my computer. And I was like, what did I miss? Like, I'm the prime example of that. I literally, after almost 20 years straight of watching Monday Night Raw, never missing an episode, I was like, I'm good. I don't need to watch that.
I remember that point, and I never missed one ever. I agree with you. I remember getting to that point going, it's just not worth it anymore. It just was so bad at a point where it's just like, I can't do it anymore. Butters, JHawk?
I don't have a lot, but Jgold had a lot of the stuff I was going to cover, actually. But you've talked about bringing in the Dreamers and the Shane Douglas and the Havoc of the world and help with that locker room. As far as people that are in that locker room on a monthly basis, if there anybody that you can point out that helping those young guys?
Wilbur Whitlock is our secret weapon, has been since the very beginning. Wilbur had a hand in my training, a very, very strong hand in my training, actually. And he has been a super valuable asset, just grabbing guys, taking them under his wing, and girls too. Just like anybody who's there to listen, he's willing to give whatever information he has. Having the 440 guys come in, having Ricky and Vince there, from time to time, they're busy. They got a lot of stuff that's going on, but having them there and being able to impart that information has been super crucial. Dominic Guarini is another one. Having him around has been super crucial. Not only because obviously it gives people, an avenue to get to a place where they can train and get more ring time in a closed training environment, but having him there and watching how he does stuff is super beneficial. I make a lot of jokes about it, but even Patrick Hayes, in a weird way, has been a help. Mostly on what not to do, but when you watch the way he executes as he moves, a lot of the younger guys have been able to pick up on that. Because of in all reality, the art of the heel is very subdued, even still today. And Patrick Hayes is a piece of shit. There's no bones about that, and he very much enjoys that. And these kids, they see that and they go, oh, there's money in people actually hating me, huh? And it's almost like I'm watching the clouds open up and the light beam come down on some of them as they get a little more ruthless, they get a little more angry. And so like just having, again, that 10-year gap thing, having these guys who've been doing it for 20-ish years, even locally, being able to impart that information to the younger talent has been just awesome.
You call Patrick Haig a piece of shit. There's going to be a lot of people thinking you're shooting on that too. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, he really is, everybody. He really is.
He used to be. People
is.
can change, okay? People can change.
People. No, I've worked with Patrick Haig for years. I've already gone along with them, but there will be some people like, oh, I hate that kind of a bitch.
It's JHawk who's the piece of shit. He's working with him,
and I'm bringing him to the locker room, so I'm gonna ruin that cool vibe that you have there with JHawk walking in.
Right.
Got to get a T-shirt made that just says JHawk is a piece of shit.
There you go. Now we're
I'll talk to Will
today.
from Gorilla Press. I think I'll have that by the 23rd. In fact,
We can have that tomorrow if you want. I think that's easy.
And the problem is I'm looking at this lineup for the 23rd, and I've worked with 3/4 of that locker room before. I don't think anybody's going to buy that.
Oh, they all know you're a piece of shit. It's fine.
all right,
shit.
Danny. So we got a lot of that out of the way. I want to talk about some of the cool stuff that you have going on. So you guys work with IndieWrestling.us to put out your shows, which I'm still waiting to see the cut of the show from the last show.
Oh, you don't run them live? You cut them up first?
We don't run them live. That's a primarily financial decision. It's expensive. It's still expensive to get that done and to do that correctly. Also, some of the venues that we've been able to have access to don't exactly have a steady internet connection, and trying to find something mobile to do that has been kind of a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
But the cut's coming. The cut is coming. But
The Butters cut.
I only ask because I did have one of our friends that does commentary for 880 Wrestling over in New Ken. He's been asking me to do commentary on all IWGuide matches. So I told him that I would. Now they work with the same company, IndieWrestling.us, to run their show, so they know everybody there. So I told him, I was like, you have to get a hold of him, get a copy of the match. I'll let you do commentary on it before we put it out on our Patreon whenever we do that.
You mean of Mike and Sid?
Yeah.
If you want to suck all the energy out of the room, we can have Butters calling the Mikey.
First of all, I told you I'm not comfortable on camera yet. Give me
Did you
time.
see him on camera? He looked like Charlie Brown standing there waiting for Linus to come walking by with his blanket. It was
You didn't even see the first one where we actually had to cut and do a retake because it was Mikey got attacked early. It's even funnier because like he gets hit and just falls on the ground, and I'm just standing there like, what happened? And then he's
Cinema.
like, he was too soon. It was
acting. Take two.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable. I didn't want to be on camera. That was not my choice. They made me do it. So now I'm the face of IWGuide for these things.
Okay, well, in fairness, I can't do these segments as the referee, and Jgold's not going to be at that many of these shows. So pretty much by default, you have to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair as well, like this whole belt and everything was really a brainchild from like Derek saying he wanted to be the champion, and me going, I could make a belt. Let's make a belt and like do something cool with it. And yeah, that's where we're at with it now. So
It's an officially recognized belt though on Cage Match, which is all that matters at this point, right? Yeah.
You made it.
Sure.
That's it's funny because we had some people come at us really hating on it, and then like literally 2 days later it got put up on Cage Match, and I was like, that's made me feel so good. I was like, that just wipes all that away. It's like whatever you guys just said is nothing because we're official now. We're officially official. Like
That's right.
Everybody goes to Cage Match for everything. So
what Butters, what's the and Danny, what is the for you guys when you were talking to Butters, you're like, that sounds like a good idea, or yes, we can do that. There are companies that won't, there are companies that kind of like double think. What was your thought process on that when Butters came to you? Were you like, yeah, that's cool, or did you have to give it some time? What'd you think about that?
there's kind of two schools of thought, right? Why or why not? And I'm of the why not. That's just kind of my mindset. Why not? Sell me on why it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Start there. Why not? And it was actually Jason was the one who came to me with it because Butters had contacted him. And for the record, anything that ever happens in NeoPro is always, well, almost always. Sometimes we both take some liberties with this, but it is a unanimous decision between Jason and I. Like the theory is if it sucks, that means that one of us doesn't agree, so that it must suck. We have to unanimously agree. And then the idea doesn't suck. And when he goes, hey, so Butters was looking to defend the IWGuide title on one of our shows. And I'm like, at first I went in my head, why? And then I go, okay, why not? Again, NeoPro was supposed to be, and it ended up becoming it. But the idea was to showcase things, to showcase people, to showcase talent, showcase promotions, showcase everything we can. It's a celebration of wrestling. It's our love letter to it. So the idea came, and I thought, hey, we've worked with Sydney. He's pretty cool. Mikey hit us up, a long time ago. And we were trying to find the right spot to kind of fit him in, and it got kind of difficult once, you open that door, all these people start pouring in. But we had him on our radar for a while, and again, I'm like, why not? It's gonna work, and if it doesn't work, oh well. We tried it. You have to be willing to take, like I said, you have to be willing to take risks on things, and it wasn't that big of a risk to assume. So I was all for it. I saw the pre-tape promo, and which we had some technical difficulties. I wasn't able to actually air that live, but it'll be in the cut. So don't worry about that.
Oh, Shelby.
Yeah, about that. He hits me up. He goes, hey, so I'm gonna run out there, and I was, what? Fires off all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, bro, whatever. That's
he was
fine.
so concerned. Like, he came to me and he's like, you gotta come back there and tell them that I need people to be chasing me. He's like, they don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, all right, I'll come back. And I came back and I talked to Wilbur.
He was not wrong. I know what the hell he was talking about.
And I told Wilbur, I was like, hey, we need a referee, and we need like some security guys just to chase him out to the ring, so he can hand the belt off, and then he'll jump over and disappear, and that'll be it. And it came off really great because I was standing out there watching it as it happened, and security legit chased him as fast as they could out of the ring and down the hallway into the bar. So I mean, it came off great. So I think
that might have been a shoot, because I got asked by one of the security guys, hey, who the hell was that guy with the cowboy hat? And I was like, don't worry about it.
Oh, that's just Shelby. Don't worry. He'll just go away eventually. Don't worry about it.
Well, the torture that he's been putting Pedro through.
One thing I do want to ask you about here is you are looking for talent for the Great Lakes Summit. So what?
Yeah, that was going to be the next thing I was going to bring up. Yeah.
The Great Lakes Summit. Thank you for bringing that up. Great Lakes Summit, if I may, would say is my idea. I'll take that. The talent we're looking for is effectively in the Great Lakes region. I mean, I'm not opposed to somebody coming in from the East Coast or from the South or from the West and wanting to, especially if they believe they're be able to add some kind of value to the card and to the tournament overall. I want to do an actual tournament. We've done these things called eliminator matches, where they're four-way or multi-person matches where they're either single pinfall victory or elimination style. And the eliminator is a great idea, but I've wanted to do a tournament. I'm a huge fan of the King of the Ring. I'm a huge fan of the J-Lit. I'm a huge fan of tournament and the idea of sport. There's a tournament that has to happen. Right. Single elimination as you get to the end of something, a goal to be. I wanted to do it all in one night, but that's hell. So
that's not advisable
in the ring. That's hell on the people in the crowd. It's hell on the people in the back. So the concept is, all right, we're Neo Pro. Neo could mean new. Neo could mean Northeast Ohio. Neo could be a lot of things. So if we are Northeast Ohio, what is our general region? So I just basically took a pencil and I circled about a 500-mile radius, and I realized that's the Great Lakes region. And when I think of iconic titles and championships and those who held them, again, you ask me who my guy is, Savage. Is Savage really ever seen in your head when you close your eyes? Do you see him with the WWF title? No, you don't. You see him with the Intercontinental title with the little red WWF logo on. You say Rob Van Dam. Yeah, you might see him with the ECW title, but I see him with the oblong Intercontinental title. You say Cody, I think of young Cody with the belt that got brought. I think of Luger as the U.S. champion. I think of Van Dam again with the other belt he's associated with, the television. So I think, all right, we have the Neo Pro Wrestling title. We have the Neo Pro Wrestling Women's title there. And you have the Neo Pro Wrestling Tag titles, which is kind of here as well. But what is everybody else going to do? And I don't like the term mid-card because that would denote that someone is less than. The B loops back in the day of the WWF, the main title that was defended was the Intercontinental title. It didn't make you mid anything. It made you the top. So to me,
the workhorse belt.
The workhorse belt, right? Exactly. And when I see young guys like Don Tavio, and I see Napier, and I see even some of the older grizzled guys like Wilbur, all right, these guys are workhorse. What are they fighting for? We got Patrick Hayes with his death grip on the Neo Pro Wrestling Championship for the last year. What else is there to strive for if he's just clutching onto it like that? I wanted a title to display and showcase the talent from this area, and that's what would do it. I think that summit will put, I'd like to think, a lot of people into perspective for certain fan bases and help you keep an eye on them. And I hope that once whoever comes out of the top of that tournament, I would hope that we could have in that person a champion that would define or redefine what it means to be a workhorse in the modern era of independent wrestling.
I really like the concept of taking, the 8 states that are considered the Great Lake region and finding a wrestler in each one of them. I was talking with Jason about it because I know that you guys were kicking around. Do we just pull from our talent pool? Do we pull from all over? And I feel like if you want it to feel big and you want it to feel different, I think pulling in young talent from different places as hey, check this person out. Now you're going to see these people potentially from these other places that you've never heard of before, that you've never seen before, that could show out and have a whole new audience. I think that's the most interesting to me and what I'm most excited to see is who, when you guys find people and they get announced, and then the idea of who are they going to face? How's this going to play out? It's real interesting. There's a lot of fun stuff to play with in there in that sports realm. And I think as a fan, that is what excites me as a fan is seeing these matchups that may have never happened before, that may never happen again, and see new talent because there's always somebody new that just hasn't gotten that look yet that you might become a huge fan of. So that was kind of my idea with bringing in Mikey, and when we were going over what happened in his match, crowning him champion, going on with the story with him. And that's why I wanted to do stuff with Shelby, because I think Shelby is one of these unique characters that there's not a ton of comedy characters in wrestling. And I think that he can wrestle and be funny and have that connection with the younger audience that I think certain promotions don't care about, or don't want. And I think that he deserves a fair chance as anybody to wrestle and show his talents. And I think Neo Pro is a perfect place for him. And that's why I'm not saying that I'm pushing for him to be in any type of the tournament, but I just think that on my end, he's somebody that I want to showcase with what matches you let me have on your shows and stuff like that. So regardless of what you guys choose for your tournament, I will have a focus with him and other people, but I'm super excited as a fan for this tournament, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So
that makes me happy. Stay tuned. I'm not gonna. I've pulled the curtain back a little too much already. I'm definitely not going to tell you anything about the summit. Just
nope, don't want to know nothing. I want to learn with everybody else. That's what makes it exciting.
Yeah. Danny, give me one before we go. Tell me before we start wrapping up. I want to ask you as has done in ring and out of ring promoting. Who's the guy you want right now? Who's the number one guy in indie wrestling that you're looking at that you're like, damn, I'd love to have that dude on my show?
That's a bit of a loaded question.
All right, give me three.
Put him on the spot. Why don't you?
Three. Well, define I would say define independent. Would somebody that's signed to TNA be independent?
No, no TV wrestlers.
No TV wrestlers.
Nope, just the guys on streaming and the guys who are working their butts off, traveling all over. Who's the guys? Who are the three guys you're like, damn, I'd love, who haven't been on your show yet? I'd love these dudes on my show.
Wow, big question. I mean, immediately like 20 names popped in. So let me whittle this down a little bit. We've had 440 in, but we've never actually had Alice Crowley. And we're developing a women's division with Megan as our champion that I think somebody like Alice really well. I'm a huge fan of Mike Santana out east. Being Puerto Rican myself, watching somebody like him come through, it's one of those I can kind of see myself in him, even though I'm pretty sure he's younger than me. But it's one of those things, you know, from like from a representation space. And I'd love to have him. And somebody that's just out in the circuit, and the difficulty is who's accessible, right? Like who's accessible.
Well, let's say unlimited budget. Let's say if you didn't need the budget, who's the third guy?
Zilla Fatu.
Zilla.
Before he goes anywhere.
That motherfucker, $50 for a photo at Comic-Con. No, thank you.
Yeah, man, you said money wasn't an option. So
I get it, but in general, I don't find him. But this is my opinion as a fan. I don't know how much I find him as a draw right now. I feel like there's a lot of buzz, but if you're a casual going to, like, if you pop his name up on a board here in New York, I'd make you a bet the people in Long Island would be like, you know, they're not running to see him. If you throw Shane Douglas up there, New York pops. You throw Zilla Fatu up there, and everyone's like, I'm not really, you know, whatever. That's just in my opinion over here is what I'm thinking about him. But I get it. I mean, I get why he's got a lot of buzz around him, but pricey for the sake of pricey, and you know, not enough for me as far as established talent, so to speak.
We had Mikey on 2 weeks ago, and he said his dream opponent's Alec Price, and you best believe I looked into that pretty much right away to see if we could make that happen in Neo Pro. And I am not a wealthy person to make that happen. So
welcome to the not so fun part of the business.
Yeah. Seeing that and like talking to some people and knowing, like, just hearing the cost, I'm like, it's totally reasonable, but it's 100% out of my means. Like there's no way I could do that.
I did try to warn you about that when you started the venture, by the way.
You did. Like I have this ridiculous list. Like I'll talk about it. I'll actually message you about it later. The list that I have of people that I want Mikey to face if I can get it to happen. And some of them I think are totally doable, and I think some of them might be just out of my price range. But
Danny, he said he's going to bring Seth Rollins in to wrestle Mikey. He's been talking about it for a long time. He's going to pay the entire fee and the airfare.
If he pays for it, then fine. If you could pull that off and somehow manage to get past whatever legal walls you have to do, I'm not going to ask questions as to how you did it. But
shit. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Butters.
You're going to have to put me on the board if I get that. If I pull that off, you got to put me on the board.
Right. You have to be a co-owner at that point.
Yeah, you gotta give me something there for that.
Or as much as you'd have to spend, you probably would be.
Right. You spend that on Rollins, and you get equity in the organization after that. Sure, that works.
Oh boy.
Well, what do you got, Dan? You got plugs for us?
Let's talk about the show next week before we wrap up.
The show.
Absolutely. Neo Pro Wrestling presents Endgame November 23rd at the Stark County Fairgrounds. We are looking at a double cage match main event. I get to put on my actual promoter hat now, right?
Nice.
Now's not when you get Danny Vandal. You're getting Diamond Danny Vandal, lead commentator for Neo Pro Wrestling.
Let's go.
Now I get to do the shtick. November 23rd at the Stark County Fairgrounds. Like I said, Neo Pro Wrestling is presenting Endgame, double cage match main event. We haven't exactly determined in which order things are going to go. However, it is going to be a double cage match main event. We might as well leave the walls of that thing up. For one match, you've got Matthew Taylor and his Omen, who have been running roughshod in Neo Pro Wrestling, and things have gotten pretty bad. I myself had to go out there and kind of stop a beatdown that happened. Poor Dominic Guarini and his leg. Those guys have been kind of running roughshod. Speaking of Sam Holloway, that is one of them as well. So we've got Matthew Taylor, his Beastman, and Samuel Holloway.
I really like Matthew
Going up
Taylor's what he does. I really enjoy what he does right now. He's got something really unique. I really enjoy him.
He's got something, that's for sure. I took him to a church to do that. It worked out really well. See a little secret show that happened. A match between Pastor CeeLo and Matthew Taylor. It's a story that writes itself if it's happening in a church.
Oh boy.
Yeah, isn't it? I don't know. You might see that resurface someday. We'll see what happens. But the Omen will be going 3 on hopefully 3 against Wilbur Whitlock, Don Tavio, and now we're gonna have to find somebody to fill that spot. I did get a phone call at the Curse of Quaker Hall, and I've been told that everything is going to be good come November. But we'll see what happens. And then in the other matchup for the main event, we are looking at good friend Patrick Hayes, that piece of shit. We are looking at him defending the Neo Pro Wrestling title. He's had it for a year now. He won it at last November's Ascent and has held it ever since, drumming up quite a record for himself in that time, defending against Ashton Day, who has more than earned that shot a few times over and has been denied it a few times. Patrick made it quite personal, taking out Bryson Teller in the manner that he did back at Set the Standard. So Ashton looks to lock him in a cage and maybe give Hayes the whooping he's been needing for a while. We also have Megan Myers defending the No Pro Wrestling Women's Championship against Jessica Havoc. That one is a long one coming. Jessica's had her eyes on the title since she came in. She said that. And I wonder how that's going to go. Megan has quite the task ahead of her. Like I said, having somebody with that kind of experience in Jessica Havoc could mean the difference. We also have the tag team titles defended. Cash Inc., brand new champions as of a couple months ago, looking to be defending the titles originally against DD Trash, but that didn't end up working out because poor Ron Mathis is actually injured. So that Bruce Grace found himself a partner. He's going to go ahead and challenge for those new pro wrestling tag team titles. We will see how that plays out. Bunch more matches in line, including, and this is where I get to hand it over to you, Butters. If you'd like to talk about how IWGuide is going to be contributing to Neo Pro Wrestling Endgame, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So, after I stood around and did not save Mikey from getting beat up, I'm still going to say that I went and found Shelby, but nobody will believe that. I figured why not do Shelby and Mikey and Bax. They kind of have an attitude about things, and figured why not let them settle it in the ring. And I know Shelby and Mikey aren't really getting along because Shelby really wants that belt. So hopefully they can stay together and work together and defeat Bax.
I hope that cowboy gets that belt one day. Just love me some Shelby.
It's going to take a lot. If I know Mikey, it's going to take a lot for Shelby to get that belt off of him. So it'll be something crazy. One more thing before we go. Actually, 2 more things before we go. One, Jason has told me that you are dying to do a ladder match.
That's correct.
And so hopefully in 2025 we see a ladder match at Neo Pro. I know that one of the locations that was scouted by me, I specifically made sure that it was big enough for a ladder match to take place. So that's more incentive for you to come to Niles. Also, Time Capsule Toys, very interested in everything and potentially sponsoring you guys in the future. I think he said he's coming to the show too. But also, our friend Brock.
I do, yeah.
You played in different bands and stuff like that. So he told me that you need to tell a specific story or at least a story about a certain person. So if you would like to tell that story for Brock.
I would love to tell that story for Brock. Brock, doing? Hope all is well. He asked just to kind of you did send me a message about who this person is. A guy named Michael Davis, who's a mutual friend of ours from a very, very long time ago. Michael unfortunately passed away in a very set of unfortunate circumstances. Very young. He was 26 years old. Mind you, I was fairly young when that happened. I was about 19, and Brock was even younger. I believe Brock was 17. We used to kind of rub elbows in the local music scene. Brock's a very talented drummer and an amazing vocalist. And boy can cook some ribs, man.
Best barbecue in Ohio.
Bro, he's a monster. But Michael was this God, if you want to talk about a gimmick, he was more wrestling than anything I think I've ever seen. This guy had these bright red dreadlocks that he he worked at Guitar Center. He played in bands and he worked at Guitar Center. He had these bright red dreadlocks in the early 2000s. He's somebody that for a very short period of time in my life was so influential. But Brock probably wants to hear about nonsense stuff that happened while we were jamming, because Mike and I were in Brock and his guys were in a different band, this new like young upstart. They had a song called, and I'll never forget this, Dungeons and Dragons versus World of Warcraft. That was a name. Have Brock try and play you a tape of that sometime if he still has one. But I mean, Mike was a character, dude. He we had a van called Lando. There was one time we were going to play a show on New Year's Eve in Nashville, and we got in the van, 4 of us. We hopped in the van, we threw all of our shit in the back of the van, and there we were, taking 77 South, going right down into Tennessee. We didn't even make it out of Ohio, and the van dies. And we're like, oh, what's going on? The whole thing. And so we call the promoter. We say, hey, we got cancer. We're having some car trouble, the whole thing, right? And now we're at a Circle K or some Speedway or something, eating terrible sandwiches. And Mike just goes, makes this noise. We're like, what? And we all get out of the van and we look, and he's standing there holding a radiator cap that he forgot to put back on. That just bounced around in the engine bay, and we didn't get to play New Year's Eve that night. I mean, we used to play with tasers in his front yard. He was a unique guy. He didn't even drink caffeine because he said he didn't like the way that it made his body felt. But he went skydiving. Like, I'm like, what? You're a dude. You know, he was a very, very devout Christian. It was a Christian band. He was our front man. And I mean, I don't want to speak ill of those who aren't around anymore, but there were a whole lot of young ladies that showed up to his funeral that were crying very aggressively at his passing. And I was like, that dude did. There was about 35 girls that showed, paid their respects. And I just gave him one last dap on the way out. And I was like, for you, sir. I don't know what happened, but for you. I miss him dearly. I actually, my day job is I work at the very Guitar Center that he worked at. And his name still hangs, which is a constant reminder a long time ago that I very much so believe, which is, and take this as you will, whatever your faith and your background is, but I knew what he meant when he said it. I was going to quit the band, and he grabbed all the shit out of his pockets and just threw it on this stage. We were actually at a church practicing in their sanctuary. And he just threw it all, everything that he had in his pockets, his Palm Pilot, that's how long ago it was, wallet, everything. And he goes, if God tells you to grab it and run with it as you can, and if it doesn't have the name of our band on it, then that's fine. And I did, and he died 3 months later. And that resonates very with me. I didn't mean to make it a little somber. The reason why Brock asked for me to tell a story or two about Michael is because he was a very, very important and very special person in our lives that kind of showed us the way as 2 young kids that knew nothing about life. He was like our bigger brother. Like, and I have a bigger brother, but he was awesome. And I wish he was here. I wish he could meet my daughter. I wish he could just be around and see what I'm doing, because he'd be like, wrestling? What? I thought you wanted to take over the world as a band. What are you doing wrestling? But no, it was a good dude. And good dude. I love him. And it's been a long time since I've seen him. So I'd love to come out on November 23rd. Have him come out and see, because I know he's a wrestling fan, because we talked when we started Neo Pro. We talked about me getting back in the business. So
yeah, I told him tickets are on me if he comes out. So
that's a really good story, though. I'm glad that we got a chance to hear that.
Yeah. And
Danny, you got socials, by the way? You want to give us your socials?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I'm an old curmudgeon. I'm not really on socials that much, but I suppose if you do want to follow me, you can. I'm on Facebook. I use my real name there, Daniel Figueroa. You can find me on there. I have a X. Is it called X? Is it still called X? I don't know what's going
Twitter,
on.
whatever X. Yep.
At the Vandalist one. I don't really do anything on there. Same thing with Instagram. Danny Vandal. You can find me on there as well.
Who's promoting the shows then? What's the handles for the show promotions?
For the show promotion, you're looking at Neo Pro Wrestling pretty much everywhere that you can find it. Neo Pro Wrestling on Facebook, Neo Pro Wrestling on X, Instagram. You can find Jason Maddox as well, who's constantly moving stuff on Facebook. But most of our promotion happens on Facebook and TikTok. Actually, we got quite a bit of TikTok followers.
Nice.
You find us there. Neo Pro Wrestling on TikTok as well. I'm an old fart. I'm not on TikTok personally, but the company is, and I look at those metrics and we smile.
Nice. JHawk?
Neo Pro, NEOPRO Wrestling.
All right. Or for me, follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at Ref JHawk. I'll be in Youngstown this Saturday, Real Action Pro Wrestling Thanksgiving Throwdown 14, the Ohio Urban Renaissance Center. Main event, RAPW title on the line in a gauntlet match. Ray Stewart against 3 members of Big Nasty's World. Got Levi Maskin against Sean Resnick for the Heritage title. A lot of other matches on there as well. The Stevie Edwards Memorial Battle Royal. The Honor Roll inductees will be inducted this year at the show, so lots going on with that. That's at 6 o'clock bell time.
Charlie_Butters on Twitter and on all the other things, I guess. I don't know. I don't ever use the personal. I'm mostly on the IWGuide socials right now. I know a lot of people are switching over to Blue Sky for a lot of stuff, so I don't have anything to promote. I kind of got everything out while we were talking, and I'll just keep promoting for Neo Pro November 23rd for the 3rd IWGuide match ever.
Nice. And you can find me on Twitter at Jgold12, on Instagram as well. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to us, and our Twitter handle at IWGuide1, patreon.com/IWGuide. Don't forget about the merch store over at Brainbuster Tees. Also, Gorilla Press Apparel. Use the code IWGP24 at checkout when you buy 2 or more items for $20 off your entire order. Listen to our podcast friends, our network, the Main Event Wrestling Network, Wrestling Junkies, and On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. At Odds with Wrestling, the card is going to change. Super fantastic podcast, Marks with Mikes, and Hayabusa Speed. Check out our other friends, OKCR Creations, the official graphic designer of the Indie Wrestling Guide. Magnum CK's Now That's What I Call Wrestling. Time Capsule Toys, Toy Hio, Rubber City Toys, Big Starks Brand, Women's Wrestling Watch of Northeast Ohio, Gorilla Press Apparel, and Smokin' Jay's Barbecue, the best barbecue in Ohio. That's all I got.
Life is short. Watch more indie wrestling.
Yep.
Damn right.
Later.
Later.
Don't forget to review and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Find us online at Facebook and Instagram at the Indie Wrestling Guide, and on X or Twitter at IWGuide1.